what I want to encourage everybody to do is also post links to tunes you've written, if you have any recorded, or even to songs you particularly like. Because I think listening to songs is a major way of learning how to make them. And when you find a song that you like and you try and figure out why you like it, it's very helpful. So I see songwriting as it involves several different disciplines at once. Not everybody has to be all of these things. And as a matter of fact, very few people are, to be totally honest. Lots of people choose to just stick to the music and have somebody else write the words, or vice versa. But a song will contain generally lyrics, or at least vocal sounds, melody, some harmony, some rhythm, and a form. And every song has, in some measure, all of those qualities. And today, we're going to talk about lyrics. And I'm hoping that next week we're going to get to talk about melody. So lyrics, obviously, whatever language you're working in, are made up of words, and words have rhythms. And when you think about a word like rhythm, for example, it has a strong part and a weak part. And it's the opposite of a word like forget, which has a weak part and then a strong part and a weak part. And what I would like you to do is just think of 5 words with a strong first syllable and a weak second syllable.
Beauty.
Beauty.
Music.
Music. Exactly.
Milkman.
No, that's true. Although, you know, I'd almost make them equivalent. Although you wouldn't go milkman. See, yeah, you would tend to say milkman. All right, now I want you to think of 5 words, a word with a strong second syllable. And the example I gave was forget.
Respect.
Yes.
Receive.
Yes.
Allow.
Yes. Okay, so here's an interesting thing, is that when you're singing, where those words are going to fall depends on where their accents are. For example, I would never sing forget. I'd sing forget, right? So in terms of the rhythm, the strong accent is always going to come in a strong rhythmic place. And so the accents make up the rhythms of the words. Now let's look at some words like, okay, I have an example of 3-syllable words. Accent on the first syllable, accent on the second syllable, and accent on the third. So first syllable, overtone. Second syllable, abrasive. Third syllable, immature, right? And I would say, you're so immature. And so the chur would be on a place of emphasis because it's got that strong accent. So I'd like everyone, if you could, think of 3 words, 3-syllable words, accent on the first syllable, accent on the second syllable, and accent on the third.
Baltimore.
Baltimore. As a matter of fact, it's being used.
Outrageous.
Outrageous, yes. And the third syllable is the hard one, actually. I had to hunt around for a while to come up with immature.
Violin.
Violin, yes. That's true. Absolutely right. Okay, so I think we get that general point. Now, one thing I want to say about that is that this applies not just to words, but also to little phrases. like two-word phrases like love me or love me, right? You take that same two words and say them with a strong accent on the first or the second word. And same thing with three-syllable collections like come to me or I need you or you're a star, right? Where all of these things are going to have a say something to say about where they fit musically, and they also even suggest melodies, partly because of the way you would say them, like you're a star, like so you would say you're a star, you're a star, and in some ways the melody imitates the shape of the way you would say it, and that makes it sound very natural and intuitive. So I think it's a good thing to practice is to say words, and then try to sing what you just said. Sing what you just said. And turn that into a little bit of a melody, right? But we're going to talk more about that on and when we come to melodies. Now, there's more to words than just strong and weak accents. There's also long syllables and short syllables, and they have an interplay. They kind of meet. Um, so example, when I say to the dump, I can go to the dump, to the dump, to the dump, 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 to the dump, to the dump, right? But if I say farthest shore, I couldn't go farther shore, I just can't get it out in time, right? So some syllables take longer to say, and usually syllables that change sound, like far or wide. These are called diphthongs. They're syllables that contain a changing sound, um, and so they will tend to take more space in a lyric than to the dump, to the dump. And there is some, there are also words that tend to stop abruptly, like tick and shy. Um, but there are other ones like far that tend to just flow, right? And also, all of these things are things we don't normally think about in terms of words, but words are the actual bricks of the songs we're building. And when you're trying to create a mood or an impression using the words that have the qualities that you're looking for, um, actually increases the effect. Um, so when I'm calling you, promise to be true. The true is a word that just kind of goes on and on forever. The other interesting thing about that is that there doesn't have to be a single note for every syllable, right? What I just sang on you, I continued it and I sang several notes on it. And if you think of a song like, I'm thinking of Cat Stevens' Moonshadow, um, where I don't know if how many of you guys know this, but he at a certain point he goes, oh, if I won't have to cry no more, right? So the one word has this all of this music attached to it, and so that's perfectly acceptable as long as the thing you're holding out has some kind of reason. You know, like for example, you can go the cup I'm holding because right? So it has to have some kind of significance. In the particular case of that song, he's talking about, and if I ever lose my mouth, all my teeth more north and south. Yes, if I ever lose my mouth. So each time it's like if, then, blah, blah, blah. And so the whole song is all about these conditional things that are being set up, and it's one big if. So there are quite a few examples of that kind of thing. Once we understand those kinds of lyrical things about words, short syllables and long syllables, and strong accents and weak accents, we organize those into structures, rhythmic and metric structures. And I don't know how many of you guys have heard of iambic pentameter? Yes. So iambic pentameter was something that Shakespeare was reputed to write in. Wrote all of his sonnets. In fact, sonnets are written with iambic pentameter, and sonnets have what are called 5 feet per line, and that's the pentameter. And 5 feet to a line sounds like da 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 da, right? And if you're sticking right to it, it can sound pretty mechanical. But people like Shakespeare and good songwriters take that as an underlying framework that rhythm fits across. But we'll get to that in a sec. I want to give an example of probably the simplest rhythmic structures for words happen in nursery rhymes. Like, this old man, he had one, he played knick-knack on my thumb, right? So it's da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. And so you hear this, something that you can clap to, and you keep that steady rhythm while you apply the break up the rhythm, like da 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 da, right? Another example in a kind of a triple rhythm is Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. And if somebody were drumming along with it, they would go 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. And all the king's horses and all of king's men couldn't put Humpty together again, right? And now here's an interesting thing that you hear that little da 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 da, and then there are 4 groups of them: 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Although Cat Stevens again made an interesting point of writing things with unusual rhythms, like Ruby, my love, you'll be my love, you'll be my honey, right? And that's actually 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So that's also quite possible. Another example of a very simple structure is happy birthday to you. You hear this pulse, bum, 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 bum. But there's 3 of them. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. And the you is because you are so important. You get 2 beats out of a 3-beat measure. Oh, and this comes straight from Mozart. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. That's just about the simplest rhythm you can have. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Right. So little Miss, and notice the strong beat is at the beginning of the pulse. Little Miss Muffet sat on the tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Now, all of these are very formulaic uses of the rhythms there. And that's partly what makes them nursery rhymes, is because they're so easy for people to clap along to. Right. But in modern lyric writing, people frequently find many different examples. But I'm wondering if I want to take a little pause here and see if we can, if anybody can think of a song that they like, that they know some of the lyrics to, and say them, and let's just see how they fit here.
What about Let It Be, like when I find myself in times of
trouble, Mother Mary. Yes, right. So that's a one. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Now you notice how it's got that underlying 4-beat structure. I find myself in. So it sets it up at the beginning. When I find, and it has a little. Here's what when you have those two little words before the strong beat, that's called a pickup. So when you're setting up your first beat, everything that comes before it, it can even be like as long as a bar, but when the first pulse happens to the rhythmic structure you're looking for, everything that happens before it is called a pickup. So when I find myself, he sets up that very strong pulse. Times of trouble. So here's a little variation. Instead of trouble, it's trouble. And then he continues to vary from it. Mother Mary comes to me, right? So the first line of that sets up this very simple. When I find myself in times of trouble, and then the second line violates that, and that's one of the key things that happens in a song. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And all of those rhythms are kind of weaving in between these posts of the beats, right? Speaking words of wisdom, as opposed to speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Literally, we could say it like that, and then we would be asleep by the end of the line. Right. So, and what he's doing is attempting to reproduce the way you would say it. Speaking, you wouldn't say speaking, you'd say speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Right. So he's taking the natural elements of speech, or the rhythms of speech, and imposing it across that 4-beat structure. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And each time figuring out the word that's going to be at the beginning of the pulse, like let it be, right? Let it be, let it be. So it amounts to a sophisticated use of the natural rhythms of speech and laying it across this underlying rhythmic structure. So there I need to talk a little bit about rhythmic structures in general. We tend to count in terms in these patterns that repeat themselves, and we call those measures or bars. I'm sure that most of you have heard of these things. I'm sure that even for some of you, I'm running over a bunch of material that you already know, but hopefully it's not so for everyone. But so the recurring cycle of pulses is called a measure or a bar, and it can have a varying number of beats in it. As we saw with Ruby, My Love, it can have 7, or Happy Birthday to You can have, it's a cycle of 3. But the common one is 2 or 4. So everything that we're attempting to achieve in terms of emphasizing where the meaning is going to happen in terms of those rhythmic cycles. There are combinations of words which are commonly used as pickups or little connecting bits, like to and the, and if and I.
never forget to the ones who live there. She once was true, a true love of mine. Oh, 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 oh. Naligilaw ako. Oh, 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 oh. Naligilaw ako.
That's pretty great. I want to just go back and listen to a little bit of this. I noticed that the rhythm that's going by is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And when he's starting the Inuk part of it, let's listen here.
Oh, 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 oh. Naligilaw ako.
So he starts halfway through the bar as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Let me check that again.
Oh, 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 oh. Naligilaw ako. Oh, 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 oh.
Right. So there's a pattern of 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and he starts in the second bar. But I also liked this.
She once was true, a true love of mine.
Yes. So there's so many ways you can say that, but he's playing across the beat and wherever he can. So she once was true, a true love of mine, right? So avoiding singing right on the beat, and that's a really common thing that you hear because the beat is so expected. There's certain kinds of music where it's considered actually rude to play on the beat. So let's just listen to a little more of this.
Naligilaw ako. Oh, 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 oh. Naligilaw ako.
Okay, so there's another interesting aspect to that. Oh, by the way. And so often in songs, you'll hear a section that goes like, whoa, 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 or yeah, or something like that, right? It's kind of wordless. And but it has a melodic shape to it. It in some cases it can be just as important as the words. Sound. Okay, and that's a lovely piece, but no lyrics.
Correct. It's throat singing. There's
Excellent.
throat singing in the other song as well.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, you know, that for the form it's in, And the point it's trying to make, it's incredibly important. It's a whole form of art in itself. It is a great song. So one option you have is to make a song without lyrics. I think that can be very beautiful. What I noticed in that particular song, again, is we had a 4-beat structure, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is so common in most popular music. And the emphasis was always on the beginning of that 4-beat pattern. Hey, 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 hey. Right.
I took the supermarket flash from the windowsill. Threw the day old tea from the cup. Packed up the photo album Matthew had made. Memories of a life that's been loved. Took the get well soon cars and stuffed animals. Pulled the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down. But Mum, there's a tear every time that I blink. Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up. But I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been loved. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. And when God takes you back, he'll say, hallelujah, you're home.
This song contains some very interesting examples of how rhythms are used to emphasize important words in songs, but also ways that you can violate those laws, those rules, and get away with it. For example, did you notice where when he sang memories of a life that's being loved, right? The word is memories, and you would think that rhythmically speaking, you would sing memories, but instead he sings memories. And it works fine. It's not a big problem. But what it creates is a sense of uncertainty and fragility in a way. Then when we get to the real root of what's going on, the word tear, it happens right on the beat. Listen.
And stuffed animals. Pull the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down. But Mum, there's a tear every time that I blink.
There's a strong beat on the word told, and especially just a clangor of a strong beat on the word tear. But Mum, there's a tear. It's almost like everything else is a pickup to that word, because that's what the whole song is about. It's about that tear. And a tear every time that I blink, and blink is also strong, right? And so he does this quite effective thing where all of the words that are kind of the central meaning of the song happen in these really rhythmically strong places, but other places in the song, he's very loose with where the rhythms of the words happen in terms of strong and weak beats. So it's the equivalent of getting the message across while still sounding fragile. It's very interesting that way. Let's listen a little more. And I have some other a couple of examples of songs that also break the rules.
Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up. But I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been loved. So I'll
Turn my mic on. So, and again, pieces is on a strong beat, and broke, right? So all of those words that contain most of the emotional content of the song, they're all happening in places where they have primacy of rhythm. Okay, so I want to go back here and stop sharing and talk about some examples of songs I know that violate rules in an appealing way. So let me just get my list back up here. Oh yeah, okay. The first one I wanted to talk about, Leonard Cohen, by the way, if you want to find a fantastic songwriter, he referred to the act of songwriting as the enterprise. And it was something that he approached like a daily job, right? And he wouldn't be satisfied with just any set of lyrics. He would be looking for exactly the right image. So in terms of the song Anthem, he starts off, the birds they sang at the break of day. So day is on a strong beat. Start again, I heard them say. So the rhyme again happens on the strong beat, and then at the same place in the structure. And then he violates it by don't dwell on what has passed away. So suddenly, instead of the way happening on the beat, he's got the word past. Don't dwell on what has passed away, right? And it's perfectly acceptable. Setting up that kind of defeat of your expectations is something that always keeps people on their toes and listening to what's going on. Another example I was thinking of was Here, There, and Everywhere by the Beatles. It starts off with here, da 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 year, right? Count each day of the year, and or there, running my hands through her hair. You have a line that has one word in it, and another line that has a whole bunch of words in it, and they end up rhyming. You can also have songs that don't rhyme at all. But first of all, let me talk about rhymes. And one of the links I sent you is called Rhyme Zone, and it's multiple rhymes for words. Some of them never get used, and some of them get used all too often. And I think it's something, if I was going to encourage you to stay away from, it's finding rhymes that everybody else uses like all the time. And some words are just really difficult to rhyme, like the word love. I mean, there are a few words like above, but what else do you have? You have shove and glove. And it's really kind of hard to fit those words into a song that's going to have a lot of meaning. Like what could you write a line that has the word love at the end of one line and the word glove at the end of the next? Let's see, every time I think of you with love, and your heart is just like a beautiful velvet glove. That's terrible. But rhymes are used to emphasize rhythmic structure. And you can have rhymes within rhymes. I think I had written down an example, but there are lyrics where there will be internal rhymes happening within 2 or 3 lines, and then another line that's not one of those, and then at the end of another 2 or 3 lines, you have something to rhyme with that. So it's like A, B, A, C, and then D, E, D, C again, right? And that's something you see is quite common. Just for the heck of it, I would like people to suggest for me 3 rhymes for the word dark.
Park.
Park.
And lark.
Lark. Good.
Mark, yeah.
Yes, bark. Okay, so now I would like you each to write 2 lines, one of which starts with, each of which has some word that rhymes with dark at the end. Any rhythmic structure you choose.
I may have missed my mark when I stumbled in the dark.
Perfect. So it's got da 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 da, when a da 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 da, and you noticed you had a little pickup at the beginning of the second line. I may have missed my mark when I stumbled. So the stumbled is on the strong beat, and the when the typical pickup words, when I stumbled in the dark.
I sat in the dark alone in the park thinking about Mark.
Sat in the park alone in the dark thinking about Mark. You notice how there's a problem with the third line. If what I find is that those sounds themselves, thinking about Mark, take more time to say than I sat in the or alone in the, and they also don't have the same structure. Like I sat in the, alone in the, they have they both have the at the end before they deliver the line, right? But what if it were something like, instead of thinking about Mark, how about thinking of Mark? I sat in the park alone in the dark thinking of Mark. And then
Yeah, that sounds better.
They flow better. Yeah.
I did something a little different. I've got, don't go out into the dark without a light of day. If you should go out without remark, the devil you shall pay.
Wow. Good example. That's got 2 rhymes. That's A, B, A, B. And so, we're coming up to the end of where we've been talking. I have one more thing to tell you about, and that is repetition of words. I don't know how many of you know the song Moonshadow by Cat Stevens. It goes, I'm being followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, right? There's no rhymes. What he does is takes the single word, moon shadow, and he turns it into this repeating thing that also plays across the rhythm. So he has moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow, right? So he goes from a strong beat on the moon to a strong beat on the shadow. And just that repetition itself creates something that people hang on to, and has this advantage of being very easy to remember. So I also host a sing-along on Friday mornings. I can tell you, when kids come along, that's a frequently requested song, because they remember it well. So finding a word to repeat, or several words to repeat. I just saw somebody talking about great songs like that, and they pointed out this one Beatles song that had a total of 19 words in it. And the rest of it was just all repetition. We're pretty much at the end of our first hour, and I just wanted to ask people what their experience has been with writing songs. you know, what they want to do with it. So here's what I'd like to challenge people to do over the next week is take, and for some of you, this will be very, very easy, and some of you might find it a bit of a challenge. I want you to take a rhythmic structure of two 4-beat measures. So da, 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 da. And I want you to write a little verse and try to make it so that you're not, the words don't just stick to the beats, like twinkle, twinkle, little star. Try and find something that kind of dances in between the beats rhythmically. And you can do that one of two ways. You can come up with a written line and think of the rhythms of it and just apply those to the beats. Or you can make up a rhythm and then try and find some words to fit it, which I can assure you is more difficult. It's harder. So, you know, you're welcome to do that too. And we're going to start off next week by just sharing some of those. Okay, and then next week, I'm hoping we're going to talk about melody. And toward the end, we're going to put it all together. But, you know, we're also going to go through some harmony. And I forget what else. It's all going to be fine.